While there are myriad ways to understand why authors write Black family heritage books, perhaps the most obvious is to assess what authors ourselves say about why we write. Here in the Genealogy, Tourism, and Education Records Series 5, we look at authors' own words in dedications, forewords, prefaces, and the like to see why we write. Let's take a look at our first gem in this series. This 186-page book is in our youth and young adult category because its language is so accessible. Readers of any sophistication level can gleefully engage with this book. It is deeply rooted in North Carolina. Two runaway slave brothers forever separated after joining the Union Army. A 154-year-old mystery solved by Dr. Juanita Patience Moss. Foreword by Dr. Frank Smith, Founding Director, African American Civil War Museum. Published by Heritage Books in 2019. For more on Dr. Frank Smith and the role the Civil War stories play in our Black family heritage books, see the Civil War in Black Family Heritage Book series. And for more on heritage books, Carter G. Woodson's publisher of Black Genealogies, and the many other publishers of Black genealogy books, see the Publisher series. Author Dr. Juanita Patience Moss is a great-granddaughter of one of the Civil War veterans she writes about. She is the daughter of Cora and Charles Edgar Patience. Her father was a renowned anthracite coal sculptor from northeastern Pennsylvania, and she wrote a book about his work titled Anthracite Coal Art by Charles Edgar Patience. After graduating from West Piston Public School, Moss attended Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, the alma mater of her stepmother, Alice Patterson Patience. She received a BS degree from Wilkes-Barre in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and a master's from Farley Dickinson in Rutherford, New Jersey. And she received an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from King's College in Wilkes-Barre. She retired as a New Jersey high school biology teacher. Then she developed an interest in genealogy that led her to the research on Black Civil War soldiers, especially those whose service in white regiments previously had not been documented. Moss has written 4 books on the Civil War soldiers: Battle of Plymouth, 2 volumes of Forgotten Black Soldiers who served in white regiments during the Civil War, and Created to be Free. She also compiled 3 volumes of Tell Me Why, Dear Bennett, memoirs of Bennett College alumni. Deeply rooted in North Carolina is her 9th book, and it is dedicated to Private Crowder Patience, 103rd Pennsylvania Volunteers, Company C, and Private Thomas Patience, 5th Massachusetts Colored Cavalry, Company B, and to the first griot of the Patience family, the 4th child of Crowder and Elsie Veeden Patience, and that is Lillian Mariah Patience Cuff, 1883 to 1986. She is a 1924 graduate of the Practical Bible Training School in Binghamton, New York. The soldier's dedication includes a famous Frederick Douglass quote. It says, "Once let the black man get upon his person the brass letters U.S., let him get an eagle on his button and a musket on his shoulder and bullets in his pocket, and there is no power on earth which can deny he has earned the right to citizenship in the United States." From these dedications, we learn that the author wrote this book to honor the family's citizenship and ancestry. We see the table of contents here. Typically, the table of contents, the foreword, the preface, introductions are places where authors state why they wrote the books. We see at the end of the table of contents the Negro spiritual, "Oh, freedom." And that signifies that a purpose of this book is, again, to facilitate freedom and also to honor Black American musical and Christian cultures. The foreword reads, "Dr. Juanita Patience Moss is charismatic, professional, and determined. In the search to find her own family history, she has written Deeply Rooted in North Carolina, in which she has solved the mystery of two formerly enslaved brothers motivated by the quest for freedom, becoming lost and separated from each other for 145 years following the Civil War. The story of Thomas Patience and Crowder Patience, as told by descendant Juanita Patience Moss, will inspire everyone to start digging for your family story." Dr. Moss is a frequent visitor at the African American Civil War Museum, Civil War Memorial and Museum, where she has shared her research about the freedom-seeking Blacks who joined regular Union Army regiments in the Civil War. Their names were not enrolled in the Bureau of U.S. Colored Troops file at the National Archives, and therefore are not engraved on the monument in Washington, D.C. One such soldier was her great-grandfather, Private Crowder Patience, who served with the 103rd Pennsylvania Volunteers. She has done her family and the world a great service by delving into the thousands of Union Civil War records to confirm thousands of lost names of Blacks who served in regular Union regiments before the Emancipation Proclamation declared free all enslaved Blacks and allowed them to enlist in the Union Army. In her book, Deeply Rooted in North Carolina, Dr. Moss relates how, due to her unyielding desire to discover her freedom-fighting family history, she found a great-great-uncle, Private Thomas Patience, who had been a member of the 5th Massachusetts Colored Cavalry. He is listed among the 209,145 names on the Wall of Honor of African American Civil War Memorial in Washington, D.C. These names are engraved on stainless steel plaques in alphabetical order in regiments, and they fly off the wall when a descendant such as Juanita Patience Moss shows up and tells us the family story. The book is a tribute to her research and hard work, and we are lucky to be able to share the story of her family journey to freedom and liberty. We learn from the foreword that this book was written to spotlight the two patients' family members on whom it focuses, to share the solution to a Civil War soldier mystery, to connect herself to freedom-fighting ancestors, and to share the existence of other Black people who served in the Civil War, not in colored troops. This is the Civil War Memorial and Museum entrance. The preface reads, "This book documents how a mystery begun in 1864 was solved in 2018. It is a mystery that commenced during the Civil War and concluded when 23andMe connected Edenton, North Carolina cousins. The mystery concerns two tenacious young slaves absconding from bondage and then enlisting in the Union Army, both under the surname Patience. Thomas Patience joined the 5th Massachusetts Colored Cavalry, and Crowder Patience the 103rd Pennsylvania Volunteers. After the Union victory, Thomas would return home to Edenton, where he remained until his death in December 1929. Crowder would travel with his regiment to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, to receive his last pay. He would remain in that state until his death in January 1930. Descendants have wondered if the two are brothers, and that question has finally been answered. Solved also is a second mystery. Why does Private Thomas Patience, with name inscribed on the Wall of Honor surrounding the bronze monument, Spirit of Freedom in Washington, D.C., not have a Union tombstone in Chowan County, North Carolina, where he's buried? On the other hand, why is Private Crowder Patience's name not inscribed on the Wall of Honor in Washington, D.C., even though a Union tombstone marks his gravesite in a cemetery in West Pittston, Pennsylvania? From that preface, we get a primary reason for writing this book is to share the solution of the Black Civil War soldier mystery. In the introduction, the author says, "Some readers may be curious about how I happened to become the griot for the Patience clan. Why you, Juanita? And why not one of your relatives?" The answer is that I had the most exposure to the Patiences because after my parents' divorce, I was reared by my great-grandmother, Elsie Veeden Patience, widow of my great-grandfather, Crowder, and two of their daughters, Jessie and Lillian. By living in their home, I would become acquainted with four generations of Patiences and was exposed to bits and pieces of family lore that intrigued me. Most of what I know came from Lillian Mariah, Patience Cuff, whose longevity to almost her 103rd birthday in 1986 provided many years for plying her with questions. Because the Patience surname is so unique, my family has speculated that perhaps our slave ancestor, like many other fugitives, may have chosen that name to elude capture by his master. Since Crowder could not spell it, his surname was recorded with different spellings: Pacien, Pashons, Pacient, and Patient. According to Aunt Lily, when Crowder and Elsie's first child, Florence, entered the first grade in West Pittston, her teacher recorded her surname as Patience, Patience. Since then, for at least 9 generations, our family has been known by that name. But not until 2018 would we discover who we really are. We have discovered that we Pennsylvania Patiences are a branch of a proud North Carolina family, albeit known by a different surname. My first book, Created to be Free, published in 2001, is a historical novel based on the lives of my great-grandparents, Crowder and Elsie Veeden Patience. I could not write their biographies because I did not know enough about them. Why had I felt such an urgency to write about these secretive great-grandparents anyway? I write for later generations who sometime in the future might want to learn about them. Much of what I wrote in Created to be Free is historical fiction, containing my imaginations of what could have transpired in many known situations. For my relatives, I included a list of facts to help separate truth from fiction. By weaving fact with fiction, my goal was to relate how former slaves and their freeborn children had to strive to survive during the post-Civil War period. My research began in 1998. 20 years later, I have written this non-fiction sequel to share some of what I have learned since publishing Created to be Free. For instance, through Ancestry.com DNA testing, our first male Patience ancestor has been traced generations back to Cameroon. Also, through 23andMe DNA testing, we Pennsylvania Patiences have been introduced to heretofore unknown relatives, also deeply rooted in North Carolina. So from this, we learn that why we write Black genealogy books is to share newly discovered information. If you are the person most prepared to do so because you've got the information, the time spent with the elders, etc., and for future generations. So as a whole, we see here at least 11 reasons to write Black family heritage books. ranging from to honor the family's citizenship and ancestry to being the person most prepared to do so and needing to do it for the sake of the later generations. But of course, our reasons for doing anything or what we ultimately get out of the endeavor are not always explicitly stated. See the between the lines, not explicitly stated reasons we write Black family heritage books in the Genealogy, Tourism, and Education Records Series 6. Next, for authors' own words on why we write, let's explore why Emily Bernard wrote Black is the Body, Stories from My Grandmother's Time, My Mother's Time, and Mine.